Dennis here, and I am excited to share with you how to use the questions table in the Ranking Mastery software. Obviously, questions will play a great role in helping your company not only answer questions within your staff or for your clients, but it also just helps you to know the answers of different things. I've found that this has helped me in building the software, so actually that's why I applied it for the users of Ranking Mastery. Also, for search engines, Google and others are now trying to populate or formulate snippets so that you can get a quick answer to a question right there in the browser. They get those answers from somebody's web page. And if you create your questions and answers on a web page the way Google can take them and index them, you have a likely chance of being ranked for a question. So let's use the system here and show you how to use it. On your Ranking Mastery main menu, you'll go to the top right hand corner. You'll have a tab called Questions. And in here, you'll see that you can add a new question, see your questions, parts, and steps. So we've broken this down so that you can answer a question in a lot of detail. So for example, somebody asks a question. That question may have a certain part to it and then steps that they can follow to do that. So you're able to create the question, the answer parts, and then the steps to take. So keep that in mind when you're building these out, that it's going to be kind of different. You're just used to answering a question, having a question and then answering it. But technically, because it's a digital world, Google's not going to really understand the question unless you path it out correctly. So it's going to help you in a big way to part out your questions, add steps. People always love steps to take. So if I take a quick look at one of my questions here, you'll notice, okay, in the thing here, you can have your questions answered or not answered. So you can kind of put them in and formulate them over time, and then when you're ready, just have them ready to answer. But let's go to one that's already answered here. So I'm going to go to this one right here. So you'll see, pretty simple one here, the question, and the answer is this, okay? But if I go back to one that's a little more in depth, let me find one here for you. Maybe this one right here. Okay, so this one's in a little more depth, right? So I've got the question, I've got the answer. So this is a part of the answer right here, okay? And then the steps to take, okay? So you can do some with multiple layers of answers. So if I go to here, this one's got, again, the question, a summary of the question, and the answer, and a part of it, and another part, okay? So by having those, you can really kind of be creative. You don't always have to put steps. You don't always have to put parts, but you can have the ability to do that within the software. So let's take a look on how to do that now that you understand it. So to add a question, click on New Question. Okay. You would select what website you're going to have if you have multiple websites. In the case of Ranking Mastery, who's going to answer the question, and these people will be coming from your team. So if you go and make sure your team has a team member in there, so go My Team. All right, I've got my team. I have them in there. If not, you have to add one in order for the question to be answered by somebody so they can get the credit. So going back to questions, my questions, Dennis. This question is, I'm going to hide it for now because it's not really ready for publishing yet. So to keep this simple, I'll say, what is the color of my car? Question. And you can add a summary to that. So you're just going to kind of add to, again, this is optional, but add to that question, kind of elaborate on it. So what is the color of my VW? Okay, just using samples. And you can select a video if you have a video available of the question, which I highly recommend. Once you create the steps to your questions, you add a video that basically illustrates exactly what you put in the question. So now you're going to rank in Google for content as far as text goes, and you'll also rank for video. So giving you two chances to get visualization on the. You can also have an action link. So if the question relates to something, you can have something there that they can go for. So we have that option there. So I'm just going to add this on. Okay. So now my question is in there. If I go down to the bottom here, I see it. What is the color of my car? You can see what that. So now I want to add a part to that. So I go to parts and I go new part and I find the question, what is my car? And I add an ordinal. This is the first part and this is part 1. And your part of the answer. So part of answer. If I could spell. All right. And then you can elaborate. So my car is blah, blah, blah. And then you can add that. So now you've added a part. And now you want to add steps to that part. So a new step for that part. So part 1, my answer. And the ordinal is 1. And it's my tires. Add. Pretty simple. Maybe I'll add another one. Number 2. My seats. And we'll add a third one. 3. My roof. Okay. So now, if we go back to questions and we see our car, we'll look at it. We see the answer is part 1 and our steps to take are there. So if we wanted to add a second part with my car, ordinal is 2, my second part, and here is my part. So I'm just going to take some text and copy it and paste it in there so it looks a little more inviting. So you can obviously style this text if you want here, whatever you want it to do here. You can do blocks, paragraphs, anything here. So I'm going to just hit save. Okay, so now if I go put steps in for that one, new step, and my second part, part 1, and for the sake of quickness, I'm going to put all that in there, select all, and it's going to be a paragraph. Great. Add, and I'm going to add another part. So you see how it's pretty simple once you understand it. So let's go take a look at it. Okay, it's all good. Now we're going to go back to steps, add some steps. All right, already there. And part 3, add some steps, and that will be this. I'm going to make sure it's just a paragraph. Add. So I'm going to just add a couple of steps for part 3. I want that just to be a paragraph. Add. So now if I go back here, my questions, I can see that we're starting to add a lot of content on here. So I've got my question, the summary to the question, the answer, part 1, part 2, part 3, the summary of part 1, the steps, summary, steps. So you can see how this is relatively simple and it lays it out nicely for you so that when you go and use it, it's all laid out quite nice. So if I go to one that's a little more laid out, a little prettier for you again, we go down to keywords here. How do I have my keywords? See, I'm working on my questions myself, and maybe this one's a little more elaborate here. Okay, yeah, so this one's a little more elaborate here. So again, my question, summary, answer, part summary, all the way down. So it looks nice and simple. So whoever's answered, they will put their photo up there and the website. They can email that person. Their social media is all going to be there for them to have, so if they want to get a hold of that person, ask questions, etc. So this is how you add questions to your system and make them effective so that Google can rank them. Any more questions? Reach out to us. Thank you.